Welcome back, dear listeners, to another powerful episode of Mind Over Masculinity. I'm your host, Avik, and this is the space where we stop telling men to tough it out and start talking about what it really takes to lead, feel, and stay mentally healthy while doing big things. So, today we are talking to all the current and the future team leaders, like the managers, founders, and guys with people looking up to them or about to. We are going deep on one big question, like, how do you lead a team without quietly wrecking your own mental health and everyone else's? So, on this journey, we have our lovely guest. Please welcome AP, Aaron Grow. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Amazing. So, dear listeners, before we delve deep into the discussion, you know everything. Like, we always introduce you with lovely guests. So today, I'd love to introduce you with AP. So, AP, known online as that management guy. So, he's the CEO of AP Grow and Associates and an expert in organizational development. So, he has spent over almost 30 years researching what great managers actually do. So he has taught, consulted, and written on leadership, management excellence, and building work cultures that do not suck the life out of people. So he's the author of Perfect Posture, the framework of elite managers, a book that gives managers both a clear model and very practical tools to be kind of boss people want to follow, not the one that they complain about in the break room. So, today we are talking about how to minimize workplace stress as a leader and how not to become the bad boss in someone's trauma story, and how men, especially, can lead with strength without burning out or kind of shutting down. So, I'll not take much of time. Let's get started. Welcome to the show again.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Amazing. So, AP, like, I mean, um, why so many managers are secretly stressed and overwhelmed? This is the question, I mean, I guess a lot of people think about. So, uh, you have spent years studying the great managers, and before we talk about being elite, so let's be honest, like, why are so managers stressed out, reactive, and barely holding it together behind the scenes? Like, what is going wrong?
What is going on? Right. Well, I
Yeah.
think a lot of them are thrown into a leadership role without a whole lot of leadership training.
Mhm.
And it is true that even people who do get um, a good amount of training sometimes aren't able to apply it so well. And so that might be part of it. I think
Mhm.
there's a lot of folks who have done well as individual contributors. They're really good at the skills that are needed on the team. But overseeing people is a different set of skills. And again, I'm not sure that many of the people who are put in these positions have been talked to or taught or have taken time to learn the skills that would be important for somebody who oversees others. And that's where my focus is helping people see what the best team leaders do that can help them in their practice.
Exactly. Yeah. And when someone realizes that I am that overwhelmed manager, what is the first thing that you want them to do in the next week? I mean, not a kind of full makeover, but just one simple shift that starts to lower the stress level for them and their team as well.
Sure. Well, I think it would help individuals, men who are leading teams and women too, to have a bigger picture of what's
Mm.
going on as they interact with their team members. And so I'll just say it quickly, if there's a realization of a framework that exists that can help them, then they can then ask the questions about where is this stress coming from? What part of my management work I- is going wrong here? And very quickly recognize that all management related tasks are going to
Mm.
fall into one of three areas: competence, communication, and care. And so the quick question, your question was identify one thing. Well, if it's just one of those three things
Mm.
that is maybe the big problem for me right now, which one is it, and what can I do about it to help alleviate some of the stress that I'm feeling right now? Confidence, communication, and care. It's going to be one of those three areas. So identify that and then dig deeper
Mm.
into it, and that'll be a great start.
Exactly. I agree. So, and definitely, like, I really appreciate that you call out the system and the role, not just the person, but um, we promote people for the performance and then hand them a team and zero training. So,
Sometimes, yes.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And
The thing is, if I may, we also know that even if
mm,
some people have training, that doesn't
mm,
necessarily guaranteeing that they're going to be good at that role.
mm,
One can have the knowledge, the cognitive understanding of what should happen, but they still might not have the personal wherewithal, the attributes, the personality to carry out those tasks or those responsibilities. That's a deeper issue, and maybe that's one thing this framework doesn't touch is the
mm,
self-work that might be needed to be the mature, emotionally intelligent person that is needed to be an elite manager. And that's a different conversation.
exactly. That's a different one, obviously. And this show is all about the men's mental health. And a lot of male leaders grew up with kind of never show weakness, always be in a control kind of thing. So, how does that old school script show up in the way that managers handle stress at work? So, what
Yeah,
do you say?
that great question, and one red flag that might, be something to pay attention to is if
Mm,
there is a penchant, a custom of always pretending that they know exactly what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, when it needs to be done. And some people are pretending. They actually feel this, and we do know plenty of men who are out there. They can do nothing wrong. Everything they say is right. It will always be right. But that's just silliness. I think
mm,
if men can accept that they will have flaws, they aren't all knowing, they don't have all the information,
mm,
and be open to hearing information from other sources and consider that information in their own decision making. Yes, at the end of the day, they'll probably have to be the one to make those decisions, but it's
mm,
never a bad idea to get as much information as possible from as many sources as possible before deciding to move forward. And even then, recognize that perhaps uh, it might not go perfectly, but
mm.
we've done the best we can with the information we have. Just always being ready to acknowledge maybe some adjustments might be needed down the road, and that's okay.
Exactly. That's really okay. Yeah, definitely. And into this only, like if a main leader is listening and thinks that, yeah, I do feel like I have to be the rock all the time, then what is the small way that he can start leading with a bit more honesty without feeling like he is losing authority?
Right, right. Well, I think if a team understands that the decision maker will be that team lead, that's a start, and that's okay. Everybody on a team usually accepts that.
Mhm,
But if a team leader is open to asking the opinions of others, I know the team members are going to appreciate that. I mean, a team's got a whole bunch of different people on it. They're going to have different perspectives, insights, experiences, and those are valuable pieces of information upon
mm,
which to base every decision a manager might have to make. So, being able to relinquish this notion that they have to be the one who knows everything is a great place to start. Being willing to hear insights from other people, that's another great step.
got it. So, like, when you walk into a stressed out team environment, Um, what are the top two or maybe three things that you look at first that usually tell you why everyone is fried? And
Right.
exactly what does a kind of healthy reset actually look like from the manager's side? Anything that if you can share.
Well, sometimes it helps to look at the source of the anxiety. Sometimes the stress can be coming from something completely out of the team's control,
Yeah.
a market shift or a policy change. And these are things that nobody inside an organization will have control over. And so before the fact, one could have some exercises that together they say, well, what if this happens or what if that
Mhm.
happens? And maybe run those kind of activities. That's before the fact. In the moment, which was your question, the first thing is to ask the question, what can we do about this?
Yeah.
Let's not get all worked up about the fact that it's going on because it's happening and the time for planning ahead or practicing some scenarios is gone.
Yeah.
So what can be done in the moment is to ask the question, what can we say? What can we do? What changes can we make right now that will make a difference? And yet, it may be many steps. So the next thing is to take it one part at a time. Delegate out different tasks if that will help. I think it's always good for a manager to realize they have a team, right? They don't have to do everything themselves. In fact, I'm quite sure the team members would appreciate it if a team lead would delegate some of the tasks that need to be done. So that's another
Mm.
strategy that we can employ. Recognize where the stress is coming from. Ask the healthy question, what can we do about it right now to help alleviate this? Delegate out the tasks that can be delegated out and move forward. That's just a quick strategy that comes to mind.
Mm. I agree. And can you share, I mean, a quick example of a leader who made one or two key changes and also saw a kind of stress levels drop? Maybe it was around communication, expectations, or workload. So,
Sure. It's an easy example. It was
mhm,
happened fairly regularly, and a very good friend of mine, they were all set to move into a new building, and this move had been planned for years, because of COVID, the building had been delayed. Everybody was quite excited about moving into their new area of the building, which they themselves had been planning for quite some time. My friend was new to the team as the team lead, but the people there had been
mhm,
working on this for quite some time. But just a few weeks before that move was to happen, a new leader came into the organization and changed up almost everything. Who was to go where into this new building was just completely turned on its head. And the team was bothered beyond words. They just couldn't believe what was happening. My friend took a step back from this, recognized that changing that leader's mind was out of the question, wasn't gonna happen. So the best that she could do in that moment was to create a feeling of trust with the team that she had, that she herself was ready to hear whatever they wanted to share, and that
mhm,
the composite of that information would get turned back up to the leader. If there was any chance that any change could be made, she would be willing to share that. And so in that moment of frustration, of crisis for that team, she did her best to keep open communication. She shared what she could, she did what she could, and made sure that the team members knew that they were heard and that at least for her, that their opinions mattered, their their perspectives mattered, and she would provide whatever feedback she could that perhaps even if it seemed that all was lost, some changes could be made. And in fact, that's what did happen. Yes, they still went to an area that wasn't designed for them in that new building, and it wasn't what they were looking forward to getting into, but they
mhm,
could get some reconciliation. They were able to get some changes made to the move that made it a little less painful, a
yeah,
little less feeling like totally disrespected. And I think that was a major win for my friend. So again, just doing what they can for their own team members, even if the stuff
mhm,
going on around the team is totally out of the control, is is something that a manager will always be able to do for their own team.
mm, I agree. Ooh. So, also, I'd love to talk about your book, Perfect Posture, uh, which I really love. Like, when you look at the best managers you have studied, what are the core behaviors or maybe the mindsets that help them reduce stress for themselves and their teams instead of kind of adding to the fire? What do you say?
Sure. I think the best managers come with a bit of confidence, not overconfidence, but just
Mm.
an assurance that they themselves are going to do their best and and then of course expect the best from their team members, that they realize they are working with a team and and the more that they can work as a team, the better.
Mm.
And this requires that they know the strengths of the team members and leverage those strengths.
Mm.
And again, I know that team members are always appreciative when
Mm.
they can be called on to do things that are in their wheelhouse, that the activities they're being asked to do are things that they are comfortable doing. So
Mm.
I mentioned it earlier. I think there are 3 areas that well, I would challenge anyone to find anything that good managers do or should do that don't fall into one of these 3 areas, that being competence, communication, and care. And just quickly, let's talk about the competence. That will be a matter of knowing the skills that are required to manage that team well. And these are general things like reporting or conducting meetings, stuff that no matter where you're working, you should be good at, or at least work to be good at. And then there's the technical skills, like operating a daycare is going to be very different than operating
Mhm.
a technical customer service facility, right? And so those are the technical skills that are needed in that specific place as opposed to the functional skills of management, which I already manage. That's competence. And so to eliminate stress, at least at the front end, let's get comfortable in that category, competence. This, by the way, and not coincidentally, is going to build respect from the team members.
Mhm.
If everything else is going wrong, if the team lead is like, well, still learning the ropes, we
Mhm.
can be sure that if they are competent, team members will say, well, at least they know what they're doing,
Mm.
right? So there's that respect factor, which is a great start. But
Mm.
close to that, a really close second is communication, an ability to, um, if there's a problem, not be afraid to discuss this with a team member professionally, in a kind way, but it needs to be addressed. And I can tell you, one of the most frustrating thing for any team member is if there is a problem, maybe somebody's not carrying their amount of responsibility that they should, but the team lead doesn't do something about it. That creates even more frustration. So I know the question was, what can a team lead, what can a man do to maybe minimize stress? Sometimes a team lead will avoid a conversation because it can be stressful. But think about it this way, which would be more stressful long term? To ignore the issue and watch it going on day in and day out and frustrate everybody on the team, or to have an open, honest conversation with that individual about what's happening, what the expectations are, what they need to say change, what they need to see change, and then move forward from there. I can promise you, for anybody listening, the less stressful path will be to have that conversation. In the moment, it may be frustrating, difficult, anxiety building, but it is still going to be less than letting it just ride without being addressed. So that's communication. And that third piece is care. Yeah. Sometimes a manager will try and distance themselves from
Mhm.
issues by saying, well, that's somebody else's problem, or let them work that out. Hey, if you're in charge of the team, that's kind of what
Mhm.
you're getting paid for. I mean, to a point, sure, let team members try and work things out by themselves, but don't abdicate entirely. If it's not getting resolved as it needs to be, take some breaths, look up some strategies. There are plenty in the book, but in the end, have some care for the team members. Think of them as the people they are, not
Mm,
necessarily just parts of a machine, and ask, how would I want to be addressed? How would I want to be approached if it were me? Uh, think of it that way, but then also think of the team member and perhaps adjust as might be best for that team member. And then show that care, show that concern, the desire to want to help them do better.
mm,
I've said it many times, and I hope I'm not giving too long of an answer here. But one thing that I believe also will help, if the situation reversed and you were the one doing something that wasn't quite right, would you rather know it or not know it? And and I think most times people would rather know that there's something going on that maybe could be better or should be better and have a conversation about it. Being left in the dark until, for example, review time, and then at review time hearing, "Oh, everything was great except this one thing."
mm.
Nobody likes that, right?
Right.
Nobody wants to hear that. So if it helps a manager to if it I won't talk in the third person. If it helps you to think about that other person, have care for them, and wonder
Mhm.
how would you like it if the situation reversed, that can help also to lessen the stress. Yeah, just those are the quick ideas that come to mind. And in that framework, where's the stress coming from? Is it competence, communication, or care? Look at what maybe could be changed to help improve that situation and take the action that makes the most sense for that situation.
Amazing. That's really amazing. Great. So, dear listeners, for everyone who is listening, who is a manager now or wants to be one, here is your quick reflection and challenge, I would say. Like, ask yourself, like, would I want to work for me
It's a
or
good one.
my worst day as a leader? So let that land. No shame, just date. So, kind of data only. And just a mini challenge for a week, like pick one stress reducing habit for your team. It could be kind of making priorities crystal clear in writing, cutting one pointless meeting, setting a no messages after a certain time guideline. So just try that and notice what changes in your mood, uh, your patience, and your team's energy. Leadership is not just about carrying everything alone, it is all about designing a way of working that does not break you or the people you are responsible for. So, AP, if someone wants to connect with you, what would be the great medium to connect?
Well, I will always invite people to go to my website, apgrow.com, and I have multiple methods of getting in touch with me there, making an appointment on the calendar, sending an email.
Yeah.
For those who have
Mm,
the ability, a phone call is possible too. My phone number is there as well.
amazing. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the links into the show notes for your easy reference. And with this hope, until next time, this is your host, Avik, and this is Mind Over Masculinity. So, till then, be happy and thank you so much.
Thank you.